Hello, and welcome back to Writing with Witches, the series where a couple witches sit and talk about writing. And this time, thanks to various reasons, we are talking about writing basic survival skills because our characters get hurt a lot.
Yes. Um, yeah. My brain. I was like, yeah, they do. They get hurt a lot.
They do. They really do. My name is Leona Urbanski. I'm the author of Fire Magic, Book One of the Deathgate trilogy, and I have another book coming out in September, which is Fey Touch, the first book of the Silver Eyes trilogy. Yes, there are two trilogies going at once. I promise I will finish them, barring something very tragic. My co-host is
I am Nicole Autumn. I am the author of the completed Secret Society series. Yeah. So, book news. I have been working on my Casper novel. My brain is moving at snail pace for whatever reason.
that's
um,
fair.
I'm probably a little over 30% of the way through my first draft. And it's turning out to be spookier than I anticipated. I was even like watching horror movies to get some inspiration. I'm like, okay, those ghosts are too murderous. They're nuts. And I don't want to go that I don't want it to be full horror. I want you to feel spooked out, but not like that. So, yeah. Lots of jump scares, but also some romance.
Which is the best part of it.
Yes. Because it's like, oh my gosh, we're so scared. Crazy things are happening. We're in terrible situations, but hey, you're sitting really close to me, and you're cute. Yeah. So, any book news for you?
I have four things on my desk currently. I am currently recording Fire Magic for the audiobook. I have five chapters done on that one. I am writing Branded. I'm probably between a third and halfway done with that first draft. I'm finishing Faith Touch. I know I keep saying that, but I am doing one final read through, and past and present tense are not kind in my first drafts. So that's a lot of fixing.
Yeah.
Um, it's not even my first draft. This has gone through like five drafts, and it's still
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, and then I am currently reading Blood Magic, the sequel to Fire Magic, rereading the first draft of that in preparation for putting it through my process for writing. So I've got a lot. And then Fae Touched is scheduled to come out in September of this year, 2026.
Yeah.
There's a lot. But the cover art, my friend, the
Oh
cover
my
art,
god. It looks so good.
so gorgeous. I love it so much.
Alex is kind of knocking it out of the park, like 100% with
Yes.
this cover. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, I love it.
Um, yes. Also, I just thought of this. Um, the audio for the Crimson Dagger has been released. So if you did not get a chance to read it for whatever reason and you want to listen to it, it is actually up on Mythweaver's YouTube channel. It will be linked down below, so you can go and listen to that. It's a nice 45 minutes, so it's like you could do some cleaning while you listen to it, you know. So yeah, and that will be narrated by me, which
Yes.
is
And go listen to it because Nicole is much better at narrating out loud than I am because she can do the voices and it's amazing.
oh well, thank you. I do voices in the words of Robin Williams.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Um, but that was all I could think of besides what I've been working on. That, and I also did the audio narration for uh The Rise of the Fallen, which will be coming out in August. So, first time recording
Yeah.
smut, and that was very not very spicy smut, and I was still getting giggle fits.
Hilarious. I got to watch behind the scenes bloopers.
I know, and I need to cut that to put it on somewhere. Instagram, TikTok mostly. So,
And speaking of the short stories, two things. One, in May, the end of May, we did release a new set of short stories, and that was
Mm-hmm.
the Black Widow Queen and From Surf to Slope.
Yep.
So those are both out there. And the second thing is we are collecting all of our short stories into an anthology, which will be getting published November of this year. So if you've been enjoying our short stories, we will be publishing them, and it will include an exclusive story to that anthology from each of us. So there will be two short stories that have never been published before.
Yeah. And I'm just so excited to do like the chapter headers for those because I think I want to do like individual ones for each one. It's going to be so cute.
We're going to have way too much fun.
I'm going to have so much fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So,
I think that's it
all right.
as of right now.
I think that is it. Yeah, we got a lot going on, man. Mythweaver's books is up and running. That's for damn sure.
We hit the ground running. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should we jump into today's episode,
Huh?
which is all about basic survival skills? um and when we're talking about basic survival skills, we're talking basically being able to survive in the wilderness on your own, unassisted by civilization, if you will. So that would be basic medical skills, cooking skills, foraging, hunting, all of that good jazz. So all of those will come into play, and we will dive into each of them in more depth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I'm glad you brought up hunting because that actually wasn't on the initial list. So yeah, definitely.
yeah,
That's a whole other field.
hunting is a huge thing, and it varies depending on time frame, which that is also something we will talk about. So, yeah. So the brain. You want to go to the next
Brain, right?
My brain needs to work.
Some of the reasons for your characters needing these skills. What are some of the circumstances that could put them into those situations? In modern contemporary fiction, maybe they got shipwrecked. It does still happen.
As scary as that is,
there are still people lost at sea. Um, maybe they got lost hiking.
Yep.
If you go into the fantasy realm, maybe it's a portal fantasy and they got dropped in a whole new world they know nothing about. Branded. Um,
Yep.
Maybe they got sent to a different time. Maybe they time traveled and ended up in a somewhere that was a city, but in the past was a wilderness, and they have to survive where they're at there. So there's a lot of different circumstances you could write that would lead them to this situation. Sci-fi, maybe they're exploring a new world and they have to figure out how to survive because the ship left them behind. All kinds of fun stuff. So, do you have any other ideas on what could lead them to this situation? My eye.
If you're looking at like not contemporary and you're thinking fantasy medieval, it's as little as traveling from one spot to another, being on the run for whatever reason. So maybe someone's out to get you, whether that's mercenaries or, you know, whatever the case may be. Geez, what else? There's all kinds of reasons that you could end up in the wilderness and need to rely on survival skills. Hell, maybe you're writing a book about it being a challenge. Maybe your character is a Bear Grylls-esque character, and they're like, I do this shit for fun. You never know. So the reason of them being out in the wilderness and needing to know how to survive, it's gonna probably come up eventually, no matter the genre. And you were naming some. You're like, shipwrecked. I just watched Ghost Ship. Oh my god. Oh my god, the survival skills. Or, you know, the portal or going back in time. Outlander is a good example of them having to understand and learn the ways to survive in that world, even if it isn't like very medieval, because they still aren't like, they like still have a castle and stuff that they're living in, but they're not like building their own tents, you know?
Yeah. They have some assistance.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of reasons. And it's probably a good idea that your characters knows a little bit of something or they're gonna die.
A
They're
little
gonna
bit. A
die.
little bit.
A little bit. Um and a huge caveat to this will depend on the time period. Because like you said, if you're in sci-fi, they're going to have significantly more tools and knowledge that they're going to be able to rely on versus you're going medieval fantasy where you're looking at very rudimentary, like basic survival skills, and the amount of tools that they have at their disposal and knowledge will be more limited to where they are at. Like if you're thinking medieval Europe, oh, versus, you know, if you're in Aztec Mexico type area, there's maybe a little bit better. Or if you're looking at ancient China, they're probably more advanced medieval esque than other areas. So depending on where you're at in the time period, these skills will vary roughly.
And I think depending also on the world that they're in, one thing that I'm sure someone will mention because we both write fantasy is magic. And we are basing this episode without the use of magic. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe they do have some kind of healing magic. Well, we're going to assume they don't. And that is how we are. So, we are not going to be mentioning magic in this episode because that is not having anything to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah. As much as our characters probably wish they can just summon up a cheeseburger, unlikely.
Right.
So, yes, although magic can be helpful, basic survival skills, it's kind of hard for magic to replicate it across the board. Um, so it's real hit or miss on that one.
Yeah.
So we can get into basic medical skills. Um, and this can cover anything from bandaging, for example. It could be as simple as a cloth wrap to it being casts versus whatever the case may be in the future. So there is a lot of variation that you can do with bandaging. But again, we tend to go, I mean, I can go contemporary. So for me, my characters are going to the hospital. Like, I'm not doing the self bandaging unless absolutely necessary, which they do at one point, but take their ass to the hospital.
Versus me, like, my characters that I'm writing the first draft in, they are abandoned in a world with limited resources. And it actually comes up the very first night they're in there. The main character gets a nasty gash across his cheek. And she's like, well, we can rip the shirt up. And he's like, we don't have any other clothes. And we don't know how cold it gets at night. So I washed it off and we're going to leave it at that. He wasn't going to bandage it because they're limited in resources. And even when they are in little better circumstances, they still take the dirty bandages with them to wash them later because of
Yeah.
limited resources to reuse it. So that their resources and the level of technology, because maybe you are sci-fi, maybe they have some kind of wound closure beam they can use to heal themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or contemporary, maybe if they need to close a wound without bandages, but they have needle and thread, and if it's a big enough wound,
Yeah.
it's a viable option. So yeah, the bandaging, what we're addressing is mainly trying to get a wound to stop bleeding or to keep it from getting infected. So again, it could cover a wide range of topics, not topics, it could cover a wide range of uses and resources depending on what your characters have available to them. So,
Yeah. Another thing would be like triaging, right? Checking for fevers, blood pressure, things like that. that contemporary, we have things that we can look at and use that we're like, okay, it's as simple as, putting something on your forehead or putting a cuff around your arm. Versus back then, temperature was by the touch of the back of your hand. And you're like, well, they're hot. We just got to wait it out. Blood pressure, they didn't know what
What was
that
that?
was. What was that? So when you're looking at triaging, it's going to vary a lot in this aspect. And if you're in sci-fi, man, sky's the limit. You could do all kinds of crap. Full body scans. I've seen that in sci-fi movies all the time where it's just like, oh, they just scan your body and they tell you everything about your body, your blood type, your current temperature, your pulse, your blood pressure, if you have high cholesterol or not. Like, that's crazy. So there is that as well.
And again, depending on if they are stuck on a planet with limited resources, they probably were still given that knowledge. They were trained in that knowledge before they went onto the planet on how to triage, have the equipment on how to triage, that kind of thing. Even if they can't do like a full body scan, maybe they have a tricorder like in Star Trek and they can do scans to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you kind of go to the opposite end of the spectrum, and actually a book I just read called Behooved by M. Stevenson. um she's constantly sick. She has a um illness that she is in pain constantly, and she has bad flare-ups. And I was reading the author's notes, and she's like, the author said, I have celiac disease,
Ooh.
which, if you don't know, means she can't eat gluten or it causes pain flares. And she was kind of replicating that into the fantasy. And that also got me thinking of, how do you triage that?
Yeah.
They aren't making that connection between her eating something and the pain. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that connection isn't there yet for that level of technology. So it's something to think about. Two symptoms that a character may be having that aren't obviously related, depending on the level of knowledge and technology the person who's triaging holds, they may not realize that they're related.
Yeah.
You know, they may not realize that the cut they had a week ago might be the reason why their veins are turning black on their hands.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
That's blood poisoning.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. I'll pass. Um,
Right?
yeah. No, thanks. um, yeah, that's, I mean, and if you have to think about it, back then, if they didn't see a physical problem, but you have pain, oh, well, it's in your head. They're doing it for attention. Like, hell, there are people that still say that shit today. So, I can only imagine how prevalent it would be back in the day, you know? But also, something to think about is how illnesses are being treated, which is kind of what you were leading into. Um, they don't have ibuprofen back in the day in medieval fantasy. That doesn't exist. So modern medications to treat things, cough medicine, ibuprofen, the pharmacy does not exist. You have to go to nature for that. And you have to know what to look for in nature to get that. And if you're not careful, you die. Very simply. Because there is a lot of
Yep.
medications that we have today that are derivatives of plants. And if you not diagnose, the dosage is wrong. You know, you could use, some people back then used belladonna to help you sleep. But if you use too much of it, you're permanently asleep. Like, you are dead. So
Yeah.
that is a entire skill in itself that you have to be careful of. And just treating any illness back then is going to be significantly different versus sci-fi. The range can go on and on.
And to be fair, a lot of what we would consider crude treatments today, some of them, not all of them, some of them did have a basis in actually working, and it was just taken too far because they're like, oh, this works a little bit, let's do a lot more, which, like you said, kind of a dosage thing too. I'm thinking of leeches and leeching.
Yeah.
because to a point, it can help depending on what is happening within the body. But then they would often overdo it because they're like, oh, that's a good thing. It's the you can have too much of a good thing, you know, kind of
Yeah.
situation. So yeah, treating the illnesses with the appropriate care. And again, if you're stuck in the middle of the wild and you eat something that doesn't sit well,
You're you're SOL.
yeah. And especially if it's been a while and it's already been absorbed into your system and you can't immediately just vomit it back out.
Yeah.
So that, and it could cause you illness or you got bit by something. There's a reason that a lot of people die making the Panama Canal thanks to mosquitoes and malaria.
Oy, yeah. Or like snake
So,
bites. That the venom from snake bites. If you don't get the anti venom for that stuff, sayonara.
yeah,
Painful, painful, painful deaths for that one.
yeah. Yeah, I think that wraps up kind of I also want to say um giving this advice as actual wilderness experts, we are talking about how to write it. So
Yeah.
do not take this as you watch this and you're prepared to go out and survive. No, this is how to write these situations and things to consider as you're writing these situations. So
Yeah.
I just felt the need to do that.
Don't take our advice and then think you're a-okay to go, on a really long hike off trail where no one can find you and something bad happens. This is not us. We are not we are not those kind of experts, okay? No. We're talking about writing these things 100%.
And it's when you're writing these things, the things to consider.
Yes.
Things that you may take for granted, um, and you need to think about, hey, might wow might not be available to your character where they are. Can't
Yeah.
speak. Sorry.
That's fine. I'm struggling too. Um so that would bring us to our witchy tip. Which we're talking about survival skills, which witches have known to have survival skills. And in that, there are certain paths that you could take. One being the Green Witch. They typically have a very wide knowledge of herbs, spices, and how to use those in witchcraft. That also typically tends to translate to how to use those medicinally as well. Because I know I I say I'm a green witch, kind of kitchen witch ish. Uh, I have studied herbalism, not completely. I'm not a professional by any means. Very basic, but it is something that does come in handy in witchcraft and in life on how to use the herbs that you have around you in your environment and in your practice.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, I am a green witch and I have herbs. I currently have a garden growing on the side of my house for herbs to use in my witchcraft to dry for later. I've got lavender and basil and oregano and mostly cooking herbs versus
Yeah.
medicinal, as I don't feel like trying to utilize that quite yet. I have not studied it well enough in my cautionary view of the world to trust myself there yet. So
Yeah.
I stick to my cooking herbs.
That's fair. I've done it in theory and reading and stuff like that. And very basics in using things medicinally, but not to the point where I'm like at tinctures and poultices and all that stuff and salves. Like people that do that, fantastic, good for you. I am also cautionary in the fact that I don't want to fuck it up and
Yeah.
and hurt myself or someone I know. So I am not at that level yet. But um, the other side of that would be kitchen witchcraft, which everyone's got to eat. So Using your practice in the kitchen only makes sense. It's a very easy way to incorporate your magic. If you're cooking something, you could use either of those special herbs or whatever the case may be to do spell work. Kitchen, cooking.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be cooking for sustenance. Simmer pots are not meant to be eaten, but they are
Oh, yeah.
witchcraft in the kitchen.
Yeah,
So
that is true. I didn't think of that. I
I
mean,
do a lot of simmer pots. That's the only reason it comes to mind.
your stove in a pot is just your cauldron.
Yep, exactly. Crock pot's a cauldron, man.
Oh, I'm still waiting to see if they make a crock pot cauldron. I want one so
I
bad.
want it.
If they make that, I don't care how much it is. I will be buying.
I will do a payment plan for this crock pot cauldron.
Klarna, here I come. Yeah. Well, I've also seen like the actual cast iron crock pots or cast iron cauldrons that people actually use on their stove. And I was like, I need to get one of those. I need to find one.
Yes, I agree. I need one.
Because, oh my gosh, how witchy would your soup feel if you're cooking it in a crock pot? I said crock pot. I meant cast iron cauldron for your
We
stovetop.
want both.
I want both. I do. I want both. I need both. I need it. I really need Crockpot to step up their game because I know there's been like a petition made for Crockpot to make the cauldron. So please give us the cauldron.
Please.
Please. So yeah. Was there anything else you could think of on that?
No, not that I can think of.
All right, jumping back into the episode of foraging skills. So this could be a huge benefit to your characters. If they know how to forage, then they know what to look for in case of, say, they have a headache. They now know what herb to get. If they see it growing, they're like, oh, this herb is good for headaches. Let me chew on it and it'll help. A good example, if you have a toothache, cloves. If you chew on clove, it acts as an aesthetic, not an anesthetic, and it can help numb the area. So those are good things for your characters to know of finding these things out in the wild in order to help them survive, whether it's food or for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, knowing what plants are safe to eat is a huge skill, especially if you are not familiar with the area, because not all berries are safe to eat for
No.
humans.
No.
So be cautious. You know,
Yeah.
it be very I actually was talking to my scientist friend, and I was proposing the idea of running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, but it was a portal fantasy where my people played themselves getting dropped into a world where they have no knowledge. And I was just asking her, what would you do? She's like, I just eat the first thing I see just to see if it's safe. She's
Oh
like,
my
that's just me.
god.
I would just put it in my mouth. And I'm like,
You would die. Death.
she knows exactly what she's doing. She's a scientist. She knows this, but she would do it anyway.
Oh my gosh. She's like, you know what? I'm willing to take that gamble. Roll the dice. Oh my god. Hope you don't get a critical fail because, geez, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I was a little surprised.
Yeah. Also, mushrooms would be another one. Berries and mushrooms. Always be careful because the mushrooms are deceiving. It's one of three things. Either they're safe to eat, they're going to take you on one hell of a trip, or you're dying.
One of the three.
One of the three.
Yep.
I don't know too much about the second one, so if you want to speak on it.
So acquiring meat that is safe to eat, it's yes, it does involve hunting, which we'll get into more detail in later, but it's also if you find an already deceased animal, how can you tell if that meat is safe to consume? How would you be able to prepare or cut that meat away? Like, what tools do you have to cut that meat away from the animal to take with you, because you don't want to stay by a big kill because there's lots of scavengers that are be coming for it. You don't want me in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
You want to be able to pick it up and take it away with you. Or trapping, being able to trap animals. And this is, again, when you're writing a character, you have to think about, especially if you're doing someone that, this is what I'm writing right now, so this is where my mindset is, someone
Mm-hmm.
that's been dropped from our world into this fantasy world, going over that moral difficulty of having to kill the animal for consumption.
Yeah.
That is hard to do, especially if you're like me. I was raised in a small town. I know about it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Would I be able to do it? I don't know.
I mean,
Not until I get in that situation.
yeah. I mean, take your average day citizen today. Their package, their meat comes in a package in the grocery store. There is a total disconnect between taking the life of an animal for food and just buying it. So if someone like one of us today is dropped in a world where you have to hunt for your food, there is that moral dilemma that I don't know if I can do it because we value animals differently than they did back then, because they saw it as, we're keeping them for food. This is they have a job, and their job is to be our meal. Where we have a tendency to keep a lot of animals as pets, or maybe keep them around for other reasons, like for example a cow. Some people keep them just for milk. Some people keep goats just for milk, or chickens for just the eggs, and they're not eating them for the meat. So that would be a hard situation for your characters to deal with, especially if they've never done it before. There are some people that have never cut up a chicken off the bone, and they wouldn't know how to do that, how to get rid of the feathers, they would be so out of their element. So writing that, if you're coming from the perspective of someone being dropped into a portal fantasy, or they just have no survival skills because maybe they're a princess, how the hell are they going to know how to freaking skin a cow or whatever that ends up falling in their lap, if they even get it? They're going to be a vegetarian real quick.
I mean, and that also applies in contemporary. If your character got lost in the woods and can't find their way out, or
Yeah.
um, again, the shipwrecked metaphor, you know, how are they getting this meat? Because it is possible to be a vegetarian completely, but knowing today's nutrient guidelines,
Yeah.
it is hard to get protein from vegetation. You have to know what to eat. And if your character has no survival skills, it's going to be way safer for them to be like, I need protein, I need meat. They'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I can get it from this plant,
Yeah.
kind of situation. So it's something to think about. Are they going to be able to get over that moral dilemma as you're writing this?
Yeah.
Assuming that they haven't had to do this in the past before. So,
Yeah. Which that would roll us into cooking skills. First things first, your character's got to know how to start a fire. If your character is out in the wilderness, you have to be able to cook on a fire, because most of the time you have to cook whatever you're eating very thoroughly to make sure that it's safe to eat, depending on what they're eating. So we kind of touched into this, but also preparing the meat and stuff like that. That is a skill that is learned, and it can be difficult if you don't know what you're doing. And again, making sure you're cooking your meat to a safe temperature, which a lot of the times, if you're cooking over fire, it's very done. It's tough.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Backtracking for just a second, because I just thought of something else about acquiring protein in the wild, is fishing.
Yeah.
Knowing what fish is safe to eat,
Yeah.
knowing how to catch the fish, having the tools to catch the fish is all something to consider. If, especially if you're shipwrecked on an island, that's probably going to be the most plentiful source of protein. It is also depending on the fish, one of the few types of meat that is safe to consume raw. Safe,
Uh,
quote
yeah.
unquote.
Safe. Hopefully, no parasites within the
Yes,
meat. Yeah.
yes.
Um,
Still probably safer to cook it.
I would cook that fish over fire. Make sure it's
Yeah,
cooked.
yeah.
Which,
I would too. I'm just saying.
yeah, fish also cooks a lot faster than, a red meat or whatever. They tend to cook quicker. Total side note. Don't know why I felt like I need to say that. Over
Oh,
fire,
that's fair.
you know, I'm sure it will cook really well. I'm talking like this, like we're gonna go out and camp right now.
We are not. Again,
We're
we're talking
not
about writing this just to
writing.
keep that disclaimer going.
Yeah. So knowing how to prepare your meat, but also how to preserve that food for later. This goes for meat, fruits, veggies, anything. Knowing how to preserve your food for a later use, and the methods will change depending on the time frame. Back then they were salt curing things and hanging it up to dry for meat. So that is, you're looking at jerkies if you're thinking meat. If it's some type of carbohydrate, you're thinking things like hardtack or biscuits or something that doesn't have a lot of water content that you could take with you on the road and it's good. Same with fruit, dried fruits, dried vegetables. These things are what's going to be edible on the road, hopefully for a longer period of time if you can get the water content out of it, because that's what makes food spoil. I.e., if you didn't know that for your characters, they can't just carry an orange around in their pocket for a month and expect it to be good.
Nope. Nope.
So, also think about that and how they're going to preserve their foods on the road in the wilderness for long
Because
term.
you also have, yeah, because you also have to remember, maybe they found a large kill or they were lucky enough that they were successful in a hunt of a large creature. They might not always be that lucky. And when you are stuck in the middle of nowhere, you don't want to waste anything. There is a reason that cultures that are closer to the earth have ways to utilize every part of the animal because they are not letting anything go to waste
Yeah.
and they are respecting the sacrifice that the animal has made for them to be able to use it for survival. Um, so yeah, being able to preserve food for later is a huge um, thing to do. Wow, that was specific. Is a huge factor to consider for your characters.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah. I got what you were saying. But also we kind of touched on this. The hunting and the fishing for your own food. Trapping would also be considered in this. Um, also, this will highly depend on the season that your characters are also in. That was a point that I had that I was thinking of. Um, Things are going to be more abundant during summer fall time frame. That's things are fully grown or are growing. uh Baby animals have now grown enough that they are huntable, that they will actually be like worth the kill. um so that's also thing to keep in mind. Winter, it's going to be a struggle for your characters to find food, especially if they're in a harsher landscape. This is where your animals are going to be harder to find because they're hibernating or they've moved south to warmer areas or wherever, however that works in your world. Here it's south. Um, so that's also something to keep in mind when it comes to food and cooking for your characters. It will depend on seasons as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure, agreed entirely. Not just meat, but also, like you said, the vegetation and
Yeah.
what does and doesn't grow in that time period.
But yeah, we touched on hunting. That is an entire skill for your characters to know. Um, where to hit them, how heavy of a bow will they have to use, or how big of a shot, like a gauge for their rifles if they're using them and have that capability. Um, you know, how to skin it, how fast you have to get the meat off of it, but keep it fresh, and that's a whole thing. And the same thing goes with fishing with spears or fishing hooks or whatever. It's a lot to consider when you're you know putting your characters out on a deserted island or off in the middle of a forest, or hell if they're in a desert. Whew, damn,
Yeah.
good luck, because things are real scarce there.
And also something to think about when it comes for hunting is everything you just listed, but also what tools do they have? What
Yeah.
tools are at their disposal? Do they carry a pocket knife? Was that already with them? Do they have a dagger to use to help skin the animal? Is it sharp enough to skin the animal? Do they have ways to make the traps or make a bow? Or if they have a firearm, do they have the ammunition for the firearm, depending on the type of firearm they have?
Yeah.
So you have to also remember the tools that can and can't be made out in the wild if they're stuck out in the middle of nowhere with nothing to their name.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's a lot to consider. And this is one reason why Branded has been taking so long. Is every few pages I'm off researching something else about survival skills and working in that environment.
Yeah.
So,
So I would say also along the lines of that too is water. How are they getting water? Cleaning water. Because you can go a few days without food. You cannot go without water. So how are they finding water? How are they holding water? Cleaning the water, those things as well would also go with the food and the hunting and water cooking. Brain is
mhm.
really mixing things up. So now that you have all those things, uh, creating shelter. They're gonna need somewhere to stay that is safe. So you have to think of ways that someone could create a shelter. Now, if they're in dire straits, then they're trying to fix something together real quick. Um, there are little, lean-to tent things that you could do with palm fronds or big leaves and sticks and all that good jazz. Or, if your character is trying to live somewhere in a place long term for whatever reason, like they are on a deserted island and they don't know when they're getting off. And that little lean-to tent is not going to be enough come storm season. So they have to make a house. They have to come up with a more solid structure. And you have to think about that. Again, what kind of tools are they going to have to find or make themselves in order to do these things? So shelter is going to be another big hurdle for your characters in terms of survival.
Yeah, tools and knowledge. Do they know, like, can they make a knot that will keep this shelter together, or is it just going to come undone as soon as they walk away? There is a reason there are multiple types of knots for different purposes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole other story. Um, but yeah, that knowledge of how to create that shelter, how to best utilize that shelter to stay safe from the wind, how to utilize any trees that are around them. All of that stuff is something to consider, as well as, like you said, the tools available to them to use
Yeah.
and their environment. Like you said, if they're in a desert,
Man.
SOL.
Yeah. If I get deserted anywhere, I pray it's never a desert. Oh my God. Because there's a reason why it's one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Because it's
Yeah.
hot as hell during the day, it's cold as hell at night, which you wouldn't think so because it's the desert. But it can get very cold. There's no trees, no bushes. It's dirt or sand, and you're screwed.
And sandstorms.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I grew up in Southern California, inland Southern California. the dirt storms that we would get. And you always could tell. So it's like, oh, the Santa Ana winds are rolling in. And that would just blow dirt into your house. You couldn't have your windows open. So, or you're sweeping dirt up off the floor. So, yeah, desert. Oh, I will pray for your characters, and I don't even pray like that. Another thing would be if they find a deserted shelter, whether that could be a cave or a structure that they found and they came across. Is it empty? Are they gonna have to fight someone for it? That could also be something that comes up, you know. Hopefully it's empty and they don't gotta fight anybody for it, but hey, survival is survival.
Yeah.
Or maybe they can share.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Maybe they can, depending on the animal.
Or the person.
Yeah, just making sure. Or the person. Yeah, finding out if it's already occupied by, you know, you don't want to stay in a house where the lampshades are made of not animal skin.
As soon as you said the lampshades, I was like, oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you might want to have your character leave as soon as they realize that. Just saying.
How would they know, though?
I don't know.
Oh, gross. Okay, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, there you go. Nasty thought for the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, making sure that if there is something already living there, that they're not gonna kill the character.
Yeah. Another thing, if they are in the wild, every landscape has predators. Your character will likely have to learn the signs of animals, whether that is trails, or just keeping an eye out for sounds, trails, you know, eyeballs. Some animals are really good at hiding, so keep that in mind. But if your character is out in the wild, they need to be aware of their surroundings and the potential threats from predators. If you're in the woods, you're looking at bears, wolves, foxes, lynxes, whatever. There's so many. There's so many in the forest. So yeah, keep that in mind. If they're traveling, there are going to be wild animals that they may encounter and have to deal with.
And I know you kind of specifically reference predators, but you also have to remember there's dangerous prey animals out there too. Moose.
Oh, yeah.
Moose is technically not a predator. You don't want to cross them. You don't want to cross a porcupine or a skunk.
Oh, yeah. Wait, a moose isn't a predator? That's like 2 tons of...
It's not a carnivore, which is the definition of a predator.
Is it really?
They don't hunt other animals.
Yeah, but that thing is massive.
Oh, a hippopotamus is technically not a predator.
Okay, so just be aware of all animals.
Yeah.
I mean,
even the little ones.
I was going to say...
You don't want to cross a porcupine.
No, and I was even going to say, you know, I wouldn't think dart frogs would also be a predator. But man, you get one of those suckers landing on you and you're in trouble because of the venom on their skin. So, man, the random animal facts are really showing.
Yeah, they really are. So yeah, any animals. You don't even want to cross squirrels if they're in a bad mood, man. Just
yeah,
they're nasty suckers.
That I don't know why this reminded me of it, but have you ever played the game Raft?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. So one, there's a shark named Bruce that is always trying to eat your raft. So there's that. But every time you go to an island that is big enough that is not just yay big for you to just like walk across real quick, there's a bird that throws rocks at the character.
That's
it
nice
just
of it.
drops rocks on you. And I'm like, yeah, even birds. They could be real assholes.
Even birds. Yep.
Yeah.
I
So,
remember my brothers had to defend my cat once, or not my cat, one of our cats from blue jays. The blue jays were swarming the cat.
oh my gosh,
Granted, the cat had gone after one of their nests, so it was justified, but you know,
revenge.
they were still swarming the cat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, characters just need to be aware of all animals. And with that, they're going to need to figure out tracks. Because a lot of the times, well, not a lot, any land walking animals will leave tracks behind, depending on how soft the soil is, or, if it rained or there's snow. So, knowing tracks, but also one of the best ways of tracking animals also depends on their droppings. So figuring out that can help you decide well, one, what animal it is besides just the track itself, because some tracks can look very similar to each other. If you're looking at, a wolf versus, other
A bear.
animals that similar size with similar paw
Oh.
shapes, it could be hard to figure it out. Yes, but they're bears and wolves, very different paw shapes.
I didn't know you were going. I didn't know you were going for similar body shapes. Wolf and
Yeah.
coyote. How about that?
Yeah. Or different types of bears, a black bear versus a grizzly. Granted, grizzly's much bigger. But if you're looking at just the shape of it, you may not be able to tell, okay, well, is that a grizzly or a black bear? You don't know. You would rather run up against a black bear, let me tell you, than a grizzly. So keep that in mind too. Those are going to be ways that can help determine where animals are moving, and your character can avoid them. Or if they're hunting, how to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, you summed it up there.
I watch a lot of animal stuff, guys.
I watch a lot of survival stuff, apparently. So,
I mean, I do
or I've just
too.
done a lot of research.
I mean, there was a whole time on TV, like a good few years, where survival stuff was everything. There was like
Yeah.
Bear Grylls, there was Naked and Afraid, there was the two dudes that would go out, and one was like super hippie, the other one was like a military guy with a military background. Oh yeah, I used to watch all of those. And my parents never caught on to the fact that it could be a hyperfixation at any point.
Not at all.
um is there anything else you could think of survival skills wise?
I mean, without going into really plumbing the depths of one of these specific things, I think this is a good overview summarization of it. Maybe we'll do a
Yeah.
mini series later on what we've researched.
Ooh, that would be fun. Survival skills
That would be
mini
fun.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's all we could think of, that brings us to the end of this episode and into book reviews, which I have one. I did
We're
it.
so happy.
I did it. um so did you want to go first or should I?
I think you should because I'm so happy for you.
So I listened to Desperate Measures by Katie Robert, and it was narrated by Lessa Lamb and Jack Callahan. This is the first book in the Wicked Villains series, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. It follows Yasmina, who is apparently the daughter of, I don't know, some kind of crime boss. They never really make it clear. All they talk about is like, oh, their territory, but they never really talked about why they had a territory. I don't know if it's drugs. I don't know if it's guns. I don't know if it's just a gang. All the above, human trafficking, I don't know. They said none of the above. It's just my dad's territory and I am being used as a pawn. That's all I can tell you. And it follows Yasmina, who is the princess pawn, and Jafar, who is apparently staging the coup to take over her father's position. Um, and this is very much a smutty book, like straight up from the gate, out the gate, like it's smut. Um, and it's trigger warning. It is CNC related in that book, so if you're not into that, don't read it. Um, but it basically follows her and how she's being used as a pawn and how he basically takes her captive, and yet they still have this CNC relationship going on the whole time. And there's a guy named Ali that was supposed to take her as his bride, but Jafar steals her away. So that's like the whole thing, is them trying to fight him to keep him away, which again, this is smut over plot here. The plot was minimal. It was them banging. That's the whole plot. Um yeah. And this is a weird like play on Disney characters, because you have Yasmina, who's supposed to be Jasmine. You have Jafar. Their safe word is Raja, which is supposed to be the tiger. Ali obviously was Aladdin's character, but then, they go to the underworld, which has Megara from Hercules and Hades. And then they also had Peter Pan characters, Tink and Hook. It's weird. I didn't know that going into it, so it kind of threw me through a loop, and I'm like, this feels a little weird, these being Disney characters, and it just basically being smut all the way through. It's tainting my childhood a little bit. just a little bit. But once I got over that, it was fine. The one thing, if you've watched this podcast at all, I hate the daddy baby girl names, pet names for each other. It feels gross and predatory, and I don't like it. And I don't even think this man was that much older than her, but it still feels gross and predatory. So overall, if you're looking just for the smut, go for it. If you're looking for a plot, it's there, barely. It's skimming the surface. But yeah. I don't know what else to say about it other than that, because it was just basically a book of them banging the whole time. I'm like, all right, I'm in it for the ride, I guess. Even though every time they said those nicknames, I was like, ugh. Like, it got to a point I was just like, stop calling her that, when I'm literally cleaning my kitchen, and my kids are like, are you okay? And I'm like, don't talk to me. This book is making me mad. And they're like, stop listening to it. And I was like, no, I need a book review.
What have I done to you?
I freaking powered through for a book review, guys. It was rough. I think I gave it like a 2-star. And a 2-star for me is like, it's okay. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't read it again. And I probably won't buy it for my shelf trophies. But it was all right. Like, if that's what you're into, then you may love it. I don't know.
That's fair.
So.
I didn't sleep last night. I'm sorry. It wasn't you.
No, you're fine. It's late. I get it. Your book review?
All right. Well, I'm just going to throw some cold water on us here, because I'm doing some nonfiction review.
Yummy.
And you're going to be mad at me now. They're library books. I have to get these back to the library. So I'm reviewing 2 of my nonfiction books.
I gave you the spice, and now you're just gonna dump the cold water.
Whoosh. I am, and I think I've said this on this channel before, I am currently researching women in World War II for a potential historical fiction novel in the future. So I have a pile of books that I am reading that I am trying to power through. And the first one I read was The Women with Silver Wings by Catherine Sharp Landeck. Quick summary. deals with the WASP, who were the women pilots in the Air Force during World War II. They technically never flew overseas, but they did ferry the planes back and forth between the manufacturing plants and where the Army picked them up to transport them overseas and that kind of thing. Very fascinating. Went all the way through from the concept of WAP up into their legacy and their memorials and how they were treated after the war, and followed a lot of different people. Had some really cool pictures scattered throughout it. If you are interested in WASP or women pilots in the US military, this is a really good place to go for research, or just if you like nonfiction. I do. I enjoy reading nonfiction, so I did enjoy this. And then the other one is called A Woman of No Importance by Sonia Purnell. This covers the life of Virginia Hall, who was basically a secret agent during World War II based in France. And very fascinating. She actually lost part of her leg before the war and still went on to become one of the best secret agents the US had.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
Motivated a lot, trained, gathered, trained, motivated a lot of guerrilla bands. Can I say that wrong? You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Within France to help fight the Axis powers as the war was coming to a close. Um, Provided vital intel for the Allies. There are multiple statements by people in this book that some of the intel she provided is literally what helped win the war for the Allies in France. And yeah, it was a fascinating story. She was very much someone that flew under the radar on purpose. She did not like recognition at all. Um, like they gave her the distinguished DSC was the nickname for it. Distinguished something cross. I don't remember exactly what the S stands for, and I don't want to say it in case I say it wrong. Um, Maybe service. I don't know. She wasn't technically military, so but yeah, she refused to go to the Oval Office in order to receive the award.
Oh my
And
gosh.
just picked it up when she was in London one day and walked away with it. And that's it. Like people barely knew about it.
Oh gosh.
Um, but she was also part of the CIA when it was formed later on. Yeah, it's a really good book. She is, to be fair, this is really my first deep dive into World War II. So maybe she is more known than I'm realizing, but from when this book was making it out, she is not a well-known personage within the war because she flew so under the radar on purpose. So, as a secret agent, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, that would. Those all those years of training, she's like, you're not putting my face everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, nope, I'm staying a secret agent. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That's really cool though. Knowing that she gave information that ended the war or helped the war effort. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Just reading it was and both of these authors, Catherine Sharp Landeck and Sonia Purnell, are very good authors. The way they wrote it, it was more of a it was not fiction in any way, but it was also not dry. They wrote it
Mm.
in such a way that it was enjoyable to read, and I actually caught myself reading more chapters than I intended to read that night. So
Oh, that's
they were
good.
good writers. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that would bring us to the end of this episode. You can find us at writingwithwitches.com. You can email us at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Although TikTok is not getting uploads because they hate us. So we also have a Discord server. So if you would like to hang out and chat with us, um, we're always on there. So yeah, you can find me at authornicoleautumn.com. You can find me at all the aforementioned social medias as author Nicole Autumn or Nicole Autumn, Nicole Autumn author. Sorry, it's late. Um, as well as my own Discord server. I have everything listed down and linked below, so it is easy for you guys to find us.
Okay. You can find me at leonaurbanskiauthor.com or sign up for my Substack at leonaurbanskiauthor.substack.com. Social media, you're going to find me mainly on Facebook and Instagram. You can find both of us at mythweaverbooks.com, where you can also purchase our books and merch and get the merch. It is amazing. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok with mythweaverbooks.com. And if you felt like listening to me rant and rave about more books, my Leo's Book Reviews channel is back up. I'm currently posting on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So,
Gotcha. Also, don't forget to sign up for her Substack.
yes. And your Substack
I don't
or
have
your
one.
newsletter. You
I have
don't
a
do
newsletter.
Substack. You have your
Yeah.
newsletter. Yeah.
I
Go
have
to
a
her
newsletter,
website.
yeah.
Sign up for her newsletter.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening and or oh wait. Next episode, sorry, will be female archetypes. So that'll be fun. Now, thank you all for watching and or listening, and we hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.